Now here we have an example of Greg. He has to use at least $1.60 in stamps to mail a package. He has 28-cent stamps and 4-cent stamps, and he can't use any more than 20 4-cent stamps because he only has one book left. So we need to write a system of linear inequalities to represent the situation. So let's define some variables. And in this case, I think I'm just going to, I'm going to use F for 4-cent stamps. So F represents the number of 4-cent stamps. And T is going to represent the number of 28-cent stamps that he uses. So he cannot use any more than 24-cent stamps, but he could use as many 28-cent stamps as he wants because he's just magic and he has a whole rolls and rolls and rolls of them. So our only constraint on the number of stamps is that F has to be less than or equal to 20. We can't use any more than 24-cent stamps. Now our other constraint is that when we add together the amounts of these two sets of stamps, we have to be over $1.60. So 4-cent stamps, we have the number of 4-cent stamps, and the value of those is going to be 4 cents times the number of 4-cent stamps, right? Because this is 4 cents, and for every stamp, we multiply it by the number of stamps we use, and that tells us how much all of the stamps are worth together that we've used. So this is the value of our 4-cent stamps. We add it to the value of our 28-cent stamps, so 0.28 times the number of 28-cent stamps we use, and this has to be greater than or equal to $1.60. So this right here is our system of linear inequalities for this, this scenario. Now let's take a look and figure out how we can graph these systems. Well, all we did is we just took some words and we mathetized it into numbers, and now we can just use math to figure this out, but the story helps us definitely conceptualize what we're talking about. So let's graph the first one. Let's make this one 4-cent stamps, and this one is 28-cent stamps. Okay, so we're going to graph this one. So our 4-cent stamps, F has to be less than or equal to 20. So we're going to say, let's see, this is 10 and that's 20. Okay, so we're going to draw a line at 20. And we want all values that are less than this, because we can use fewer than 20 stamps, but we can't use more than this line. All right, now let's take a look at our other equation. Now if he uses just 28-cent stamps and he uses 0 4-cent stamps, so we plug in 0 for F, then what we have is $1.60 divided by 28, then he would have to use, ooh, that's an odd one, isn't it? 5.7 stamps. Well, that's not really possible, but we can go ahead and graph that because we're mathetized it. So when F is equal to 0, T is equal to 5.7. So we're just going to go like right there. Okay. Now, if we use just 20-cent stamps, and no, or just 4-cent stamps, excuse me, and no 28-cent stamps, then we would need to use, let's see, 1.6 divided by 0.04, we would need to use 40 stamps. So that's 20, 25, 30, 35, there's 40 up here. So we're going to graph that up to there. We would need to use at least, we need to use 40 stamps if we used 0 28-cent stamps. Now we can use any combination above that line. Anything under that's not going to give us enough. So we could use any combination above this line. So we can see where these are going to cross is where we have the two colors combining. So any of these points in this region are going to work. So we could say we could say we were going to use this point right here. 5 28-cent stamps. And so that would be 5 times 0.28. And then 10 4-cent stamps. We could pick that point. So that's one solution. Another solution, I mean, you could pick a point way out here. That's going to be too much money for him to be mailing, but we could pick this point, you know, any of these points. We could pick 5 28-cent stamps. And 20 4-cent stamps. Now we'll learn another time how to optimize how we would want to get as close to the edge of that as possible. But truly, that gives us, I mean, that gives us over $1.60 on there. So if he wants to use 20 stamps, totally can do that.